Hey guys, Mrs. Smith here. Welcome to Compound Inequalities number 2. I hope you're having a wonderful day. Today we're going to do problems number 1, number 2, and number 4. Alright, so starting with problem number 1, hopefully you already saw Mr. Larson's wonderful video about compound inequalities yesterday. Today we're going to be doing pretty much the same thing, just with some new problems. So problem number 1 is an AND question. You have 7 plus 6p greater than or equal to negative 35. And 3p minus 10 is less than or equal to negative 7. I just rewrote the problem again below so that it was easier for me to work it out. But if you want to just leave that up there, that's okay too. So when you have an AND, we're looking for only those solutions that satisfy this and this. Has to satisfy both inequalities. So first of all, let's solve. Over here, let's get rid of our 7 first by subtracting. That leaves you with 6p is greater than or equal to negative 35 minus 7, negative 42. And we'll continue to get rid of that 6 by dividing by 6. And that's going to leave you with p is greater than or equal to, let's see, negative 42 divided by 6. Grab that calculator if you want. And that should give you negative 7. Oh, and look at that. Greater than or equal to, I should make sure that's the same thing here. There we go, greater than or equal to. Okay, so we've got p is greater than or equal to negative 7. And let's solve the other side now. 3p minus 10. Let's get rid of that 10 first. So it says minus 10. Let's add it to get rid of it because we're doing the opposite. And we'll add that 10 to both sides. You get 3p less than or equal to 3. Divide through by 3 to get rid of that one. And you're going to be left with p is less than or equal to 1. So this is part of your solution here. P is greater than or equal to negative 7. And you have to write that. P is less than or equal to 1. So that right there is solve each compound inequality. This is the solution. That's the solve. Next it says graph the solution. All right, so let's put this on the graph. We want to graph the parts that are greater than or equal to negative 7. So let's just go ahead and find negative 7 because it says the or equal to part is going to be a solid dot. And it's going to be greater than. So we know we're going this way. I'm not going to draw my line very far because we're not sure how far to draw it yet. Next, we're going to do p is less than or equal to 1. So because we have that or equal to, we're going to put a solid dot on the 1. And it says less than, so we're going this way. And now where those lines meet up will be our graph. Just like that. And there's one final thing we need to take care of, and that is the interval notation. So I like to look at my graph. It looks like we're stretching from negative 7 up to 1. And there on the lower end, it's a solid dot, so we're going to use a bracket to show we're including that value. And on the upper end, same thing, solid dot, so we're including it, we're going to use a bracket. So your answer is the graph and then all of this down here. All right, let's look at number 2. Okay, you have 1 minus 7n greater than or equal to negative 13, or 4n plus 6 greater than or equal to 46. Again, I just copied it down because it's easier for me to work it that way. So this time it's an OR problem. That means any numbers that satisfy this, as well as any numbers that satisfy this. That'll all be part of our solution. The numbers we're including in our solution don't have to satisfy both. They just have to satisfy one or the other. So let's solve. Let's get rid of that 1 first by subtracting. Negative 7n is greater than or equal to negative 14. Now let's get rid of that negative 7. What do we do when we divide by a 7? I mean, when we divide by a negative in an inequality? That's right, we flip the sign. Good. So we're going to have n instead of greater than, we're going to have less than or equal to. Divide those out and you get 2. All right, we're halfway done with the solution. 4n plus 6, let's get rid of that 6 by subtracting. Then you have 4n is greater than or equal to 40. Now let's divide by 4. And you're left with n is greater than or equal to 40 divided by 4, that's 10. Okay, so this and this are the solutions, but make sure you write the word or in between them. So you have n is less than or equal to 2, or n is greater than or equal to 10. Okay, next step, let's put it on the graph. N is less than or equal to 2. So we have that or equal to, so we want what kind of dot? You got it, solid, and it says less than or equal to. So we're going to go off this way forever with an arrow. And n is greater than or equal to 10. Again, we have that or equal to, so we're going to use our solid dot. It says greater than, so we're going off this way forever and ever. And only one thing left. That's your interval notation. So for this one, let's start at the lowest end, which our arrow is going all the way to negative infinity. So that's the lowest thing on the graph here, negative infinity. And we're always going to use a parentheses with infinities, so let's do our parentheses. And then the next thing we need to write is this 2. So we have a 2. And with that closed dot, again, we're going to use a bracket. And now is when we get to use our U for union. A lot of times we use that in our OR inequalities, right? So we have this right here, which represented that arrow. And then we write our U for union, and now we need to represent this arrow. So the lower end of it is that 10. So let's do our 10. It's a closed dot, so we're going to use that bracket. And that goes to infinity, so let's write infinity. And we are done with that problem. So all of this in the box, as well as these arrows, the graph, that is our solution. Okay, let's look at one more, number 4. Number 4 is written just a little bit differently, but we solve it pretty much the same. Again, I'm going to copy it below. 28 is less than negative 4x plus 4 is less than 44. Okay, what do we do with all this? Well, we need that x by itself. That x right there, right? That little guy. So let's get rid of this 4 first. You're going to subtract it to get rid of it. And what you do to the middle, you have to also do to the beginning and to the end. So like that. 28 minus 4, that's going to be 24 is less than, we have negative 4x. That equaled 0, so we don't have to write that. Is less than, okay, 44 minus 4, that's going to be 40. Okay, x is almost by itself. Now we need to divide by negative 4. We're going to divide everything by negative 4. All right, 24 divided by negative 4, that's negative 6. Negative 4 divided by negative 4, well, that just cancels out, becomes 1, so we're just going to put an x there. And then 40 divided by negative 4 is going to give us negative 10. You notice I didn't write my signs yet, because what do we need to remember to do as we divide by that negative? That's right, we need to flip it. So it's going to be like this. Now for our final answer, we want things to go from low to high. So let's flip this around. I'm going to do it over here. So let's start with the lowest number, negative 10. And negative 10 is less than x. And x is less than negative 6. So I just kind of flipped the whole thing around, and I flipped the signs also. And now let's put it on our graph. So negative 10 is at the bottom, and it says less than, so we're going to do an open circle. So negative 10 is less than x, and x is less than negative 6. Again, less than, not less than or equal to, so we're going to use our open circle, and your x is going to be all the values in between, right like that. One final step, it's that interval notation. So starting at the bottom, the lowest value is negative 10. And is that going to be a parentheses or a bracket? That's right, open dot means parentheses. So let's do that. And then the higher end of the values is going to be negative 6. And again, open dot, we're going to have parentheses. And that's all we got to do. We have our graph, our solution, and our interval notation. Oh, and let's make sure that gets on the screen. So sorry about that, guys. Okay, take a quick look. Sorry, I was off the camera there for a minute. If you have any questions, let us know. Talk to you later.